Now let's talk about all the additional items you can set up in Hostfully. Let's start with agency settings. We'll come up here to my title of my company and then click on agency settings. You'll see that you can add your address, your website, your phone number. You're going to want to add your logo, so that will appear on your emails. And then down here, you have some additional options. So these options in the middle here are your default settings. These will be overridden by the property settings, but you can go ahead and set these now. We'll scroll down here to the bottom, and these are some additional options we have. So automatically capture guest reviews after checkout allows you to add an email that automatically goes out of the system. The guest will click on this, provide a review, and the review will come back and live on your property level. These are only for direct bookings, obviously, as the channels have their own review system. Capture guest information after payment. This is our pre-arrival form. Your onboarding manager is happy to go over this in more detail, but for now, this is a form which goes out automatically to your direct bookings to ask them for additional information. It asks for the guest name, the age, the email, and you can even add additional fields to this form like a license plate or something else you might want to know from the guest. If you'd like to, you can also send this out to people that book on the channels like Airbnb and VRBO by putting it in a template and trigger. Coming back here to the agency settings, enable additional charge option is for your security deposit. Right now, if you enter a security deposit, it's automatically charged to the guest and you have to refund it afterwards. If you enable additional charge option, it turns it into a pre-authorization instead, and the money doesn't actually enter your payment processor account. Activate digital signatures is another option for our Pro and Premium members. If we click on this documentation, you'll see that you have the ability to provide a contract which appears after they check out with their credit card details. They sign the contract and that comes back and lives on a PDF in the system. We can go over that with more detail with you again in your onboarding call. Activate text messages. We typically do this for all Pro and Premium members. This enables you to send automatic text messages to your guests as well as emails. Scrolling back up here, on the right-hand side of this page, you have the option to invite additional team members. You can click on this button, choose the role that they're going to have in your system, and send them an invite to the system. You have the option, if you're Pro and Premium, to have as many team members as you want. Coming up here to the top, these are your pricing periods, which we'll discuss in our pricing video or with your onboarding manager. And next we have the service provider tab. We can go over with this with you in your onboarding call, but you have the ability to set up service providers in the system and then send them emails or notifications on their own service provider portal as to their cleans or their maintenance tasks. Rental conditions you'll want to fill out. These are your rental terms. So this could be terms and conditions or a list of house rules. This is what will go out on that digital signatures page as well as sync over to VRBO when you set up that channel. This is the agency rental conditions for the default across all channels. If you do want to set individual conditions for each property, you can do so on the property level. Next, let's talk about email settings. You definitely want to set up your email settings. So right now, the platform is funneling all email messages outgoing to your guests through our mail server. So it's coming from platform.hostfully.com. If you go ahead and put in your own email settings, then it will reroute all of those emails through your outgoing mail server, and it will look like it's coming from your brand and not ours. If you need help with your ports and your mail server hostname, you can just click on See Documentation for a helpful walkthrough. Coming back here, this is your direct booking website. We'll go over your direct booking website in the direct booking website video. Now let's come back to the drop down under Rihanna's Vacation Rentals. You'll see there's many additional things here that you can fill out. The first thing we'll talk about up here is publishing tools. This is another option for your direct booking website, which we'll go over in full detail in that video for the direct booking website. Back here to the drop down, we have calendar tools. Calendar tools gives you the ability to sync up calendars which don't fully integrate with Hostfully. So if you're with Florida Vacation Rentals or another booking channel that's smaller or regional or does not sync up fully with Hostfully, you can put the iCal in here and actually block the calendar dates. So we'll come in here and choose the property. We'll choose the link for other provider. And then you can put the name of the company. And then you'll simply put the iCal in here, click Keep Calendar Automatically Synchronized, and Sync. That will allow all of those booking dates from that channel to block out your calendar. Now, this is an iCal sync, not an API sync. So it just blocks the calendar dates. It doesn't bring in any reservation info. You'll, of course, want to come back here into Calendar Export, take the correct iCal from our system and put it in that system as well so that they have the calendar dates from Hostfully also. Let's come back up here to Rihanna's Vacation Rentals. The next thing here is integrations, which we've already talked about, channels, which we'll talk about in our channels video, and then templates and triggers. We also have a video for templates and triggers. Let's talk about owners in this video. So this is your owners page. You can add a new owner here, or I believe the easiest way is to come into properties and add it directly on the property level. Let's go to properties. We'll click on the property that we want to add an owner to. We'll come in here to the top and click on the owner tab. Now we can enter the owner's information, make sure to put a correct email, and then you can put in the access that you want the owners to have. Come in here and put in the percentage that's going to come to you. Remember, there's no actual money coming out of the Hostfully system for the owners, but it does go onto the reporting. You can decide whether the owner can get an email on every booking, whether you or the owner will collect and remit the rental tax, and whether you're going to show the guest information to the owners. You can also choose to either allow the owners to block dates or not allow it. Simply save the owner, and you'll be able to send them a link and a password to the system. The owner will be able to see the reservations for only their calendar for their particular properties that you've put them on. So make sure to put them on each property that they belong to. Here you also have the option to manage owner adjustments. So if you need to adjust something out, like a broken lamp that the owner is going to pay for, you can put the adjustment here and have it appear on the reporting when you send them a statement at the end of the month. Coming back to Rihanna's Vacation, let's go to reporting. So this is how you'll see your reporting in the system. This information here is limited because this is what shows on the screen. However, you can click Export Extended Data and have a full Excel report of all of the fields on a reservation, which you can use for either marketing purposes or financial data. You also have the ability to see the owner statements that you've created, a list of transactions, and then a logistics report if you want to see by check-in and check-out for a particular time period. Coming back to financial reports, if you do want to create an owner statement, you'll simply click the drop-down, choose the owner, and you'll have the statement for just that particular owner. You can then generate a statement which will appear here that you can export for them, and it will also appear in their owner portal, which we just talked about. And let's come up to the next item in Rihanna's Vacation Rentals. Coming up here, you also have analytics. So this is more of a sales report. So if you're having different people book sales or you want to see the sale conversions by property, you can see them here. And then the last thing on this dropdown is discount codes. So when you're doing direct booking, you can actually add a discount code to the system. You add the name of the code, you add the property, it can be by amount or percentage. And then of course you'll need an expiration date and the time period that the code is valid for. The time period is very important because the codes will not work if they're outside the time period that you set up. You then get a field on direct booking so that they can actually put in the code that you gave to them and the guest can check out with your discount. Coming back up here to the top, let's review a few of these tabs at the top just to make sure they're all covered. So this is your dashboard. And your dashboard has a list of incoming leads. You can see that this one is grayed out because I already assigned it to myself. Once you assign it to yourself, it simply moves over to the pipeline. The pipeline is where you're going to manage all of your reservations. So all of your reservations are going to come into the system here. You'll have a little icon which tells you which channel it came from. These are all direct bookings, so there's no icon right now. And then you'll see that each reservation goes through a series of bubbles. When it's in a quote version, it just appears here and allows you to do certain things on the quote. When it's on hold, we're actually holding the property for a time period so that nobody else can book. When it's in booked, of course, they've already booked, and when it's in booked, of course, they've already confirmed their booking, most likely paid at least a partial payment. And then, of course, when it comes to the stay period, this is when they've stayed. This stay box does not account for whether they've actually checked in or not, but it does account that the day has come for them to actually check in. You'll see that there are multiple things you can do on each bubble. If you have any questions about this, check out our help articles or be sure to check with your onboarding manager. And then lastly, let's talk about the calendar. So the calendar is typically in a stacked view like this, so you can see at a glance your reservations across all properties. If you want to, you can simply click on a property and get a regular calendar view if it's more helpful to you. Let's talk quickly about a few things in the Properties tab. If we click on Properties, in our Importing Properties video, we talked about bringing in the properties, and we talked about those first 5 fields that you need to fill out. There are some additional fields here we'll go over real quickly. So service providers is going to be applicable to adding service providers, which we talked about briefly earlier. The Owners tab, of course, is that tab we just talked about. Notes gives you the ability to add notes by where the notes are going to appear. So booking notes are shown to only booking agents, and you can create booking agents on that agency settings where you invite roles. Property maintenance is going to be shown in the service provider portal. So if you want to give the cleaner specific instructions for a specific property, you can add them here. And then these are the notes that are shown for the owners on their portal. Reviews are those reviews that we talked about that come in from direct bookings. Rental conditions is where we talked about entering specific rental conditions per property. These rental conditions do overwrite the main ones on the agency settings. And then the check-in instructions gives you the ability to add specific instructions for specific properties. I recommend putting these in here because you will be able to send them manually from the quote pipeline. However, these do not automatically go out. So once you put this in here and we come back to templates and triggers, let's custom template, check-in, and then I'm going to put in the check-in variable. The check-in variable pulls all of that information from that box we just talked about. So it may be a little bit confusing. If you have any questions on it specifically, ask your onboarding manager. And lastly, we have our inbox. Our inbox connects right now to Airbnb and direct bookings. It does not connect to VRBO, Booking.com, or the other channels. However, you'll be able to answer all of your Airbnb emails right here from the inbox. That's it for our Everything But the Kitchen Sink video. If you have any additional questions, please reach out to your onboarding manager. You can always email onboarding@hostfully.com. Click on the help.hostfully.com chat link on the lower right-hand side of the page, or if you're past the onboarding stage, be sure to reach out to support@hostfully.com at any time for additional assistance.